I'm gonna do it again because I got to break Kevin's new record. I got to get back on the stage because this new record that Kevin got, I got to have it back, Kevin.
Eddie, what the you doing? Get on stage. I don't know, man. Maybe.
But Jussie Smollett gonna keep lying until you say we don't believe you.
I don't know what records nobody broke, Kevin.
Kevin Hart might be one of the biggest names in comedy right now, but let's be real. His shine is getting tested hard. His name's been all over the blogs lately, and not for blockbuster wins or Netflix deals. It's for the drama. Other black comedians been lining up to take swings at him, and in comedy, those punches land deeper than fists. One slick joke can crown you a king, and the next one can strip you down to nothing. That's the game. So why is Kevin, with all his money and power, looking shaky over a few jokes? Here's the twist. Eddie Murphy, the OG, the untouchable legend, is circling around this mess. Word on the street says Eddie's about to spill some secrets that could flip the way fans see Kevin forever. This isn't just light roasting. It's sounding like there's dirt hiding in Kevin's past that the wrong people know too much about. We already saw cracks when Katt Williams lit him up earlier this year. Kevin tried to clap back, but you could tell his confidence slipped, like he knew Katt wasn't just clowning, he was hinting at something deeper. And now, with Eddie and a crew of comedy heavyweights gearing up to drop receipts, Kevin might be walking into a storm he can't laugh his way out of. This ride's about to get bumpy, and the crowd's watching close. Kevin Hart might have thought the smoke cleared, but nah, he's not out the woods yet. If Eddie Murphy, the most unbothered legend in comedy, is stepping into this, it means something heavy is going down. Eddie's always been that cool uncle at the cookout. Laid back, never messy, never pressed. So for him to even hint at calling Kevin out, that's big. These two got history too. Remember when they linked up on Meet Dave? That mutual respect has always been there. But clearly, even that ain't strong enough to shield Kevin right now. So what's the real shade Eddie's circling around? The whisper's been out here for years. Talk about Kevin climbing the Hollywood ladder by cozying up to the right industry bosses, maybe even stepping over people that helped him on the way up. And if that wasn't enough, there's talk of deeper, murkier dealings Kevin might have had his hands in. Eddie's been in this game since the 80s, not just the 90s. He knows the Hollywood machine inside and out. If there's dirt on Kevin, Eddie's one of the few who would have seen it firsthand. And then there's Katt Williams, who already dropped a nuke on Kevin's reputation. On the Club Shay Shay podcast, Katt didn't sugarcoat a thing. He flat out called Kevin an industry plant. He laid it out crystal clear. How does a brand new comedian hit LA and in his first year land his own sitcom and star in Soul Plane as the lead? That don't just happen. Katt said he already had his deals when he got here, and then he doubled down. Have we ever heard of a comedian that came to LA and within his first year had his own sitcom and his own movie? No, we've never heard of that before or since.
We heard of a comedian that came to LA, and in his first year in LA, he had his own sitcom on network television and had his own movie called Soul Plane that he was leading. What do you think a plant?
That's when Katt dropped the real sting. What do you think a plant is? Maybe people don't understand the definition of these words. Ouch! With Eddie now circling and Katt already planting seeds of doubt, Kevin's rise to fame looks less like hustle and more like a carefully manufactured plan that somebody powerful orchestrated. And if Eddie decides to co-sign those suspicions, Kevin's whole empire could start shaking real quick. If you don't know where this Kevin Hart versus Katt Williams smoke started, let me break it down. The roots go back to 2008 with the movie Fool's Gold. Katt was supposed to land the role, but his run-ins with the law at the time shut that dream down. And guess who swooped in to grab the bag? Kevin Hart. That move right there is what insiders say lit the first flame of tension between these two. And trust, Katt never held back about how he felt. He's been loud about it, calling out how the industry plays dirty. In his eyes, it ain't just about who's funny, it's about who's willing to play the game, shake the right hands, and maybe even bend the truth to get ahead. Katt's point, too many liars sitting on piles of resources running the show while the real ones are left scrambling to keep up. Katt's words cut deep because they weren't just jokes, they were warnings. He painted a picture of an industry where truth don't matter as much as power, where someone can rewrite their own story if they got the right money and the right people behind them. And the way he framed it, he made Kevin look less like a self-made star and more like one of those shady characters using Hollywood's machine to spin his own legend. Katt Williams isn't dumb. He knows speaking out could have people labeling him bitter or jealous, like he's just another comedian hating on Kevin's shine, but Katt's response to that was wild. When asked if he feared the backlash, he dropped a chilling line. Satan can't create anything that includes blessings for his people. That's why the #1 job of somebody that sold their soul in Hollywood is to act like it didn't happen. That's not just shade. That's straight up spiritual warfare talk. And that ties right back to the Kevin Hart is an industry plant theory that's been floating in Hollywood circles for years. Rumors say there's this dark initiation in the industry. Entertainers being forced to put on a dress on screen, almost like a secret rite of passage before you can level up into the big leagues. It sounds crazy, but this isn't just Katt ranting. Even Dave Chappelle backed up those whispers. Back in 2006, Dave sat down with Oprah and explained why he walked away from that jaw-dropping $50 million Comedy Central deal. He made it clear, money ain't free in Hollywood. Big checks usually come tied up with invisible strings that can choke you later. Dave grew up in the industry since he was 14, and he'd already seen too much. He used examples that had people's jaws on the floor. Mariah Carey signs a $100 million deal, and months later, she's suddenly branded crazy. Martin Lawrence blows up, then ends up on the streets waving a gun, screaming somebody's trying to kill him. These aren't random breakdowns. Dave said it always happens right when someone's career is about to hit that next level, almost like there's some price being collected in the shadows. And when Oprah pressed him about those stories, Dave admitted it wasn't just paranoia. He'd lived through the pressure himself. He said he was pushed to create sketches that made people laugh at him, not with him. Like they wanted to strip away his dignity on camera in exchange for bigger checks. That's why he walked away. To him, the deal wasn't just money, it was a setup. Now, connect those dots back to Kevin. If Katt's calling him a plant and Dave already warned how Hollywood builds stars by humiliating them first, the whispers about Kevin's rise don't sound so far-fetched anymore. It makes his quick climb in LA look less like luck and more like a plan with dark strings attached. This saga gets even wilder when you hear what Dave Chappelle went through himself. He once recalled a moment while filming with Martin Lawrence. He walked into the trailer and spotted a dress hanging there. At first, he thought he walked into the wrong room, but no! It was for him. The script suddenly had a scene where Martin's character sneaks out of jail by dressing Chappelle up in a wig and a dress. Dave wasn't having it. He straight up said, "Nah, I'm not doing that." But the pressure came hard. Writers, directors, even producers all swore it would be hilarious. They told him he needed to loosen up, that this is what would make the scene pop, but Dave stood his ground. He didn't need to put on a dress to be funny. The crazy part, as soon as he refused, they suddenly came up with a brand new scene, like it had been sitting in the back pocket all along. That left Dave questioning the whole setup. Why was the dress pushed so hard in the first place? And why was an alternative so ready to go? To him, it felt like a test, a way to see if he'd bow down to Hollywood's unspoken rules. Dave later explained it wasn't about the dress itself, it was about the pattern. He started realizing black men in Hollywood were often cornered into these roles like some twisted checkpoint for fame. And once he connected the dots, the examples became obvious. Martin Lawrence in Big Mama's House, Eddie Murphy doing multiple characters in dresses for the Nutty Professor, Jamie Foxx as Wanda on In Living Color. One or two cases could be coincidence, but Dave saw too many to ignore. It wasn't just creative freedom, it looked like an initiation ritual, a way of breaking down dignity before building someone up as a superstar. And once you look at it that way, Kevin Hart's career path starts to look suspiciously similar to the same script. And then came the flood of Hollywood dress moments. The Wayans brothers turned it into box office gold with white chicks. Then you had Juwanna Mann, less successful, but still riding that same formula. And of course, Tyler Perry built an empire off his Medea franchise, rocking the wig and the dress all the way to billionaire status. That became the climate in comedy. And right in the middle of that wave, Kevin Hart started speaking up. Back then, Kevin was preaching heavy about brand protection and setting boundaries. He'd sit down in interviews talking about how an artist had to know where the line was and refuse to cross it. He even bragged about refusing a silly request on a talk show to dribble a basketball because, in his words, it would make him look foolish. He insisted it was all about guarding his image. standing firm, and never letting anyone push him into something that compromised who he was. And when the topic of wearing a dress came up, Kevin was bold. He said he never faced that dilemma, but if he did, he'd shut it down. He told people straight, protect your brand. Don't fold, don't sell out. At the time, fans respected it. He sounded like a man standing on principles in an industry where not everyone does. But here's the twist that had everyone's jaws on the floor, and not even a year later, Kevin popped up on Saturday Night Live in a skit, rocking a dress. He played a 9-year-old Oscar nominee in a parody bit, and the internet went crazy. Fans weren't laughing. They were furious. Social media blew up with people accusing him of being fake, selling out, and betraying his own words. The energy flipped instantly. Wasn't this the same guy preaching about boundaries? Wasn't this the guy telling others not to sell their dignity for a laugh? Now here he was, doing exactly what he swore he'd never do. The backlash was loud, and it wasn't just haters. Even longtime supporters felt betrayed. That moment painted Kevin in a whole new light. Not as the guy who stood firm on principle, but as someone who said one thing, then folded the second the industry dangled a bigger stage in front of him. At first, Kevin was loud about it. No way, I'm not putting on a dress. That was his stance, clear as day. But fast forward a little, and suddenly the same man is cracking jokes about it, saying he found the idea funny, and just like that, he's on stage rocking the same thing he once swore off. The flip was so sharp it left fans dizzy. And when people called him out, Kevin slipped into defense mode. His go-to line? Nobody forced Martin Lawrence into Big Mama's house. Nobody forced Tyler Perry into Medea. Nobody forced Jamie Foxx to do Wanda. In his words, it's all about choice. He tried to spin it like he was just joining a comedy tradition, no strings attached. But here's the catch. The counter-argument is brutal. Critics say Kevin's narrative doesn't hold up because he himself once rejected the idea. Back then, when no check was on the table, Kevin was adamant, not doing it. But when the bag got bigger, suddenly it's all laughs and why not? That shift screams louder than any joke could. It looks less like free choice and more like a dollar-driven sellout. And that's where the bigger question comes in. How much is integrity really worth in Hollywood? Steve Harvey once made it plain when he admitted, "Give me $10 million and I'll embarrass myself all the way to the bank." He said it without shame, and people ate it up because he kept it real. But when Kevin does the same thing after swearing he never would, it doesn't read as honesty. It reads as fake. Money is powerful. It can flip morals inside out and reveal who people really are when the stakes are high. And for Kevin, that switch from never to sure why not exposed a crack in the armor he once used to protect his brand. Now, fans aren't just questioning his comedy, they're questioning his soul. Now here's where the Kevin Hart story gets even messier. Right after he rocked the dress on SNL, his career didn't just level up, it skyrocketed. Overnight, he was pulling checks bigger than anybody in the comedy game, crowned the highest paid comedian alive. The timing was too perfect. Fans couldn't help but whisper that the dress wasn't just a skit, it was his golden ticket. Whether you call it sacrifice or strategy, one thing's for sure. Kevin was suddenly laughing all the way to the bank and louder than ever. But money and power always come with shadows. Enter Monique, who's been fearless about calling Hollywood out. She's dropped bombs before, and one of the biggest was aimed straight at Kevin. According to her, when she was battling the pressure from giants like Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry, Kevin turned his back on her. Instead of showing support, the same guy who built a reputation on uplifting the culture allegedly went silent when she needed him most. And if that wasn't eyebrow-raising enough, whispers started floating that Kevin wasn't just quiet. He was busy cozying up to the very same power players Monique was fighting. Oprah, Tyler Perry. The names don't get bigger in Hollywood, and suddenly Kevin was right there at their side, shaking hands and climbing higher on the ladder. The receipts? Back in 2021, Kevin had Monique on his Comedy Goldmines podcast. At first, it looked like he was giving her flowers, celebrating her journey, her rise in comedy, her place in the culture. But the conversation also exposed a deeper truth. Monique's long-standing feud with Oprah and Tyler hadn't gone anywhere. She laid it bare. The tension, the betrayal, the pain of being iced out by two of Hollywood's most powerful figures. So when fans put two and two together, the picture wasn't flattering for Kevin. While Monique was fighting for her name, Kevin seemed to be switching sides. From ally to opportunist, from protect your brand to protect your bag. And that shift had people questioning, Was Kevin's loyalty ever to his peers, or was it always to the gatekeepers who held the keys to his empire? Now here's where the story takes another twist. On Kevin's Comedy Goldmines podcast, Monique got real about her struggles. Not just career setbacks, but family pressure, financial strain, and feeling like she was trapped with her back against the wall. And right there, Kevin Hart stepped up like the supportive little brother of comedy. He didn't just nod along, he wrapped her in words of comfort, calling her like family, a mother, an aunt, a sister rolled into one. For a moment, it looked like Kevin was about to be Monique's knight in shining armor. But Kevin didn't stop at sympathy. He promised action. He admitted he didn't have much of a personal connection with Oprah, but he told Monique straight up that he'd reach out to Tyler Perry on her behalf. And according to Monique, that's exactly what he did. After a heart-to-heart with Perry, Kevin came back claiming he had good news. Tyler was ready to squash the beef and move past the drama. Kevin then urged Monique to do the same. He told her, "Let's leave all that negativity in the rearview mirror, Mo. We've got bigger things to accomplish together." He positioned himself as the voice of reason, the peacemaker trying to bridge a divide that had frozen her career for years. And Kevin's promises didn't stop there. In her later sit-down with Shannon Sharpe, Monique revealed that Kevin doubled down on his support. He told her not to stress about Oprah or Perry anymore because he'd personally back her projects. He even offered to partner with her directly and executive produce whatever she wanted to bring to life. Monique remembered his words clearly. "Mo, I talked to Tyler. He said he didn't want to revisit it. But I'll tell you what, let's move past that, Mo. Let's just do great things together. Whatever you want to do, I'll partner with you. I'll executive produce with you. You just let me know." On the surface, it painted Kevin as a stand-up guy, loyal, supportive, and ready to put his money where his mouth is. But when you put this next to the whispers about him cozying up to Oprah and Perry behind the scenes, it raises a tough question. Was Kevin truly lifting Monique up, or was he carefully playing both sides of Hollywood's power chessboard? Monique didn't just praise Kevin for words. She said he came through with cold, hard cash when she needed it most. A hefty loan straight out of his pocket, and she even returned it with interest. On top of that, Kevin promised to help her revive her talk show, and Monique was over the moon. After all, having Kevin Hart, the hottest comedian in the game, backing your project as a producer, that could flip a struggling show into a cultural phenomenon overnight. So Monique told her team. She ran to Endemol, her media production company, and everybody was hyped. The thought of partnering with Kevin had producers buzzing with excitement. But then came the curveball. 2 weeks later, Monique's world crashed when Endemol broke the news. Kevin Hart's own manager, Dave Becky, had called them up. The message? Kevin suddenly had cold feet. Confused and hurt, Monique reached out to Kevin directly, expecting some real explanation. Instead, all she got was a vague brush-off. "We'll talk Tuesday. Don't worry about it." But Tuesday came and went. Then weeks turned into months, and then years. Monique said she hasn't heard a single word from Kevin since. That's when the armchair detectives and even some of her fans started putting the pieces together. To them, it looked less like Kevin changed his mind and more like Kevin never planned to follow through at all. Some even claimed the whole act of support was a PR move to make Kevin look like a savior while protecting his ties to Hollywood's biggest power players. And then came the receipts that made people side-eye Kevin harder than ever. Remember how Kevin once swore he barely knew Oprah Winfrey? That story doesn't exactly hold up. In a 2019 interview with Ellen, right after his near-fatal car crash, Kevin himself admitted Oprah had sent him flowers during his recovery. And not just any flowers, but a lavish arrangement that stood out from all the others. So fans started asking if Kevin was really that close to Oprah, close enough for her to send him personal gifts, why downplay it? Why pretend he wasn't in her orbit? And if he misled folks about Oprah, what else has he been hiding? Especially when it comes to Monique. Kevin once joked that Oprah's flowers had basically taken over his whole house. He said the arrangement she sent after his car accident was so massive, so alive, it turned his place into a full-on botanical garden. The flowers lasted so long, it became a running gag in the Hart household. His family even teased that someone must be sneaking in to water them, because no matter how much they ignored them, the flowers refused to die. Kevin laughed about how they dominated his dining room table so badly that his family was eating on the floor rather than touch Oprah's prized gift. But here's the kicker. This is the same Kevin who swears he barely knows Oprah. Make it make sense. You're out here telling stories about Oprah's flowers becoming part of your home life, but at the same time claiming you don't really have a relationship with her? Fans picked up on that contradiction real quick, and suddenly Kevin's words started looking less like jokes and more like cover-ups. That's when the rumor mill kicked into overdrive. The whispers got louder. Kevin didn't ghost Monique by accident, he ghosted her to protect his own Hollywood alliances. Word is, if Kevin had thrown real weight behind Monique, especially against Oprah and Tyler Perry, he would have been putting his own empire on the line. And that's a risk he wasn't willing to take. To understand just how deep this goes, you gotta rewind back to 2009. That's when Monique starred in Precious, a film directed by Lee Daniels and produced by none other than Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry. The role won Monique an Academy Award, but behind the scenes, it sparked one of the most notorious Hollywood feuds of the past 2 decades. She claimed Oprah and Tyler blackballed her for refusing to play the game during award season, and from there, the bad blood only got thicker. So when Kevin suddenly switched sides, distancing himself from Monique while cozying up to the very people she called out, it didn't feel like coincidence. To some, it looked like Kevin chose power over loyalty, selling out a peer for a seat at Hollywood's most exclusive table. The real war between Monique, Oprah, and Tyler Perry blew up over Precious. Monique said it plain. She only got paid $50,000 for her Oscar-winning role, pennies in Hollywood money. And after that, Oprah and Tyler expected her to globetrot and promote the film for free. No contract, no paycheck. Monique wasn't having it. She shut it down with a firm, "Nah, that's not in my contract." That's when things got ugly. According to Monique, Oprah and Tyler flipped the script and started painting her as difficult in Hollywood. Instead of celebrating her work, they allegedly smeared her name, making it harder for her to land jobs. The story went from Monique being the breakout star of Precious to Monique being branded as a problem. Monique shared receipts too. She recalled a private conversation with Tyler Perry where he tried to convince her to play ball. He allegedly told her, "You may want to consider promoting this film because if you get nominated for an Oscar, your next film is $3 to $5 million. And if you win it, your next film is $6 to $8 million. But Monique clapped back with one of the coldest lines ever. "I'm a black woman. Where are they paying those salaries, brother?" She told Tyler flat out she wasn't about to fly overseas and work for free when she'd already delivered her performance. She said, "I don't believe in working for free." And when Tyler told her he didn't believe in giving money away for free, Monique fired back, "Then we're on the same page." It was a straight-up clash of values. Monique holding her ground against 2 of Hollywood's most powerful figures. But according to her, Tyler didn't stop at disagreeing. She claimed he went even further, allegedly pulling strings behind the scenes to block her from getting future acting gigs. So when Kevin Hart stepped in years later, calling Monique family and promising to support her, only to suddenly ghost and cozy up with Oprah and Tyler instead, fans couldn't help but see the betrayal. To them, Kevin wasn't just protecting his brand, he was protecting the very people Monique accused of destroying hers. Monique says the fallout all started when she refused to hop a plane to France for the Cannes Film Festival to promote Precious. The studio wanted her there to smile on red carpets, but Monique had her own life to juggle. A talk show, a comedy tour, a husband, and her kids. She told them respectfully, "I've done my part. I'm not obligated to do more." They tried to sweeten the deal with perks, a bigger hotel suite, fancier accommodations, but Monique and her husband held their ground. She made it clear she was going to spend that downtime with her family, not chasing photo ops. She said, "Oprah, I'm doing a talk show, I'm doing a comedy tour, I have a husband and I have babies, I have a little bit of downtime and I'm gonna take advantage of it, so I'm not going anywhere because I'm not obligated to go anywhere, I've done my part." At first, it seemed like they agreed to disagree, but then the phone kept ringing. By the 3rd call, her husband cut straight to the point and asked, "Is there a number associated with it?" That's when the studio dropped the hammer they would never pay anyone to promote a movie. Monique pointed out she'd only been paid $50,000 for Precious in the first place, and she hadn't signed on for the check. She did it because her friend Lee Daniels asked her to. It wasn't about greed, it was about principle. When an interviewer tried to press her, suggesting maybe she just needed the money to pay her bills, Monique shut it down cold. I think that's what America says. We all say, "I can't do it for free." But instead of respecting her decision, Hollywood spun the story. Suddenly, Monique wasn't a hard-working actress protecting her time and her family. She was difficult. She was demanding. And from there, the label stuck. In Monique's eyes, the whole mess boiled down to one simple truth. She had fulfilled her contract, and she wasn't going to let anyone bully her into doing free work. But in the eyes of Oprah, Tyler, and the studio machine, her refusal to play the game made her an enemy. And just like that, the woman who delivered an Oscar-winning performance found herself blackballed in the same industry that had been cheering her days earlier. Things really went left for Kevin Hart when rumors about his infidelity started spreading like wildfire. Back in 2011, after 8 years of marriage, his then-wife Torrei Hart pulled the plug on their relationship. And this wasn't some quiet split. She allegedly caught Kevin red-handed, tangled up with multiple women. The whispers went even further, claiming one of those women was none other than Eniku, the woman who later became his second wife. For Torrei, the betrayal cut deep. She wasn't just a wife cheering from the sidelines. She believed she and Kevin were building a power couple legacy. Instead, she was left blindsided and heartbroken. In her own emotional recount, she admitted divorce wasn't something she ever believed in, but Kevin's actions left her no choice. And to make matters worse, she couldn't escape him. His face was plastered everywhere. Billboards, TV shows, Hollywood premieres, constant reminders of the man who broke her trust. But the sting didn't stop there. Torrei revealed she wasn't just supporting Kevin at home, she was contributing to his career. She had been writing jokes, shaping punchlines, and helping mold his comedic voice during his climb. Yet Kevin never gave her a single ounce of credit for her work. Instead, the money made from those very jokes allegedly went to fund his escapades with mistresses. That's the type of disrespect that burns. And Kevin, instead of owning his mistakes, he had the audacity to turn the scandal into material for his stand-up routines. Imagine being Torrei, the woman who stood by him when he was broke, helped craft the very jokes that made him famous, only to be clowned on stage in front of the world. For fans, it painted a darker picture of Kevin, not just as a flawed husband, but as a man willing to step on the people closest to him in order to keep climbing. The betrayal wasn't just personal, it was professional. And Torrei's story made people wonder how much of Kevin's success was built on loyalty and how much was built on broken trust. And just when Kevin thought the storm couldn't get any worse, his ex-wife Torrei Hart threw gasoline on the fire by teaming up with his biggest rival, Katt Williams. That's right, Kevin and Katt have been at each other's throats for years, and now Torrei is standing shoulder to shoulder with the same man who's been clowning Kevin in interviews, roasting him on stage, and questioning his entire career. Torrei made the announcement loud and proud on Instagram, dropping a photo of herself grinning alongside her good friend Katt. And she's not just tagging along for laughs, she's joining him on his Dark Matter tour, one of the biggest comedy runs happening right now. The timing couldn't be more brutal. Fans immediately caught the shade, calling it one of the most savage moves an ex could make. To make it even spicier, Torrei's post included a snippet from that viral Club Shay Shay interview, the same one where Katt Williams took direct aim at Kevin, dragging him while exposing industry plants and fake friendships in comedy. That little detail had social media buzzing. Was Torrei just securing a bag? Or was she deliberately standing with Katt in his war against Kevin? Kevin tried to downplay the whole situation in a recent interview. He kept his voice calm, gave a so-called mature response, and insisted he wasn't bothered. But you could see it in his face, the tight smile, the forced composure. The irritation was radiating off him. No matter how much he shrugs it off publicly, everyone can tell this stings. Because let's be real, this isn't just business, this is personal. Torrei linking up with Katt sends a loud message. She's no longer standing in Kevin's shadow, and she's not afraid to roll with the one man who's been calling him out the hardest. And while Kevin keeps brushing off the rumors and the shade, the truth is, every move like this chips away at the family man, unshakable superstar image he's tried to build. So here we are, Kevin Hart's world looking shinier than ever on the outside, but behind the curtain, the cracks are showing. From Katt Williams dragging him as an industry plant, to Eddie Murphy circling with whispers of hidden receipts, to Monique exposing how he flipped from ally to ghost, Kevin's carefully crafted image is taking hit after hit. Add Torrei Hart, the ex who helped write his jokes, now standing with his biggest rival on tour, and it feels less like coincidence and more like karma finally catching up. Hollywood's got a long memory, and fans never forget. Kevin's rise might have looked unstoppable, but every betrayal, every contradiction, every rumor makes people question if the empire was built on loyalty or lies. The million-dollar question now, can Kevin laugh this one off, or is the machine that built him finally starting to crack? And trust, this is only the beginning. If Eddie really speaks out, if Monique drops more receipts, if Katt keeps swinging, Kevin's not just in a comedy feud, he's in a fight for his legacy. Stay locked in with BarzBuzz, because when Hollywood's brightest stars start slipping, we're the ones bringing you the truth they don't want out.